This is the Everyday AI Show, the everyday podcast where we simplify AI and bring its power to your fingertips. Listen daily for practical advice to boost your career, business, and everyday life.
OpenAI's custom GPTs have gotten some huge under the hood updates. And unless you're listening to this show every day or maybe reading our free daily newsletter every day, there's a good chance that you could have missed it. So today we're actually going on part 2 of our 2-part series, both investigating what's new inside of these updated and refreshed GPTs, but today going over some advanced techniques inside there that can help you win back time. All right, I'm excited for this new rendition of our weekly series, AI at Work on Wednesdays. So this is kind of your midweek break where I encourage you to follow along with me live as I use AI and put AI to work for me in my business. And I hope you can apply it and grow your business too. All right, let's get it started. Welcome to Everyday AI. What's going on, y'all? My name is Jordan Wilson, and this thing, it's for you. Everyday AI is a daily live stream podcast and free daily newsletter, helping everyday people not just learn what's happening in the world of AI, but how we can leverage it to grow our companies and our careers. So if you're a business leader trying to do exactly that, you're in the right place. It starts here with the unedited, unscripted live stream and podcast. But if you want to be the smartest person in AI at your company, you got to go to youreverydayai.com. It's literally like the best free generative AI university on the planet. You can go learn from hundreds of experts that we've interviewed over the years on our free website and get that daily newsletter. We send it out every single day with the highlights of each episode that we do, as well as keeping you up to date with everything else in the world of AI news. So if you want the daily news, make sure to go check out in the newsletter. And before we get started, have to mention really exciting episode coming tomorrow. So make sure that you tune in. We're going to have Dr. Ben Gortzel, who's literally coined the term AGI. He's one of the OGs in the AI world. So it's going to be an exciting conversation. You don't want to miss it. So make sure that you tune in tomorrow or listen on the podcast. All right. Let's get straight into it. Let's talk about what's new inside of these custom GPTs. So OpenAI originally rolled these out almost 2 years ago. And I think originally there was maybe more hype than bite with these GPTs, mainly because they couldn't take advantage of all of these new ChatGPT updates, right? And if you are brand new and you're like, what the heck is a GPT anyways? I like to tell people it's a custom version of ChatGPT that you can use not everywhere, but essentially everywhere inside of ChatGPT. So it's a way to make ChatGPT kind of smaller, smarter, and more specific for your needs, and then to be able to reuse it at any time without wasting a bunch of time, right? Sharing files, going back and forth, trying to get ChatGPT to respond exactly how you want it to. You can just create a custom GPT for that. In today's episode, here's what we're going to go over. We're going to learn about what I call context stacking and doing that with GPTs. It's an advanced technique, but it's actually really simple and it's going to save you a ton of time. We're going to talk about how to build GPTs with O3 in mind, the new O3 model from ChatGPT that can think, reason, logic, plan ahead, and it can agentically use the different tools at its disposal. And then last but not least, we're going to go over how to use custom actions inside of custom GPTs to bring in third-party data via an API. So I'm going to show you the back end, how to do that, and give you some different examples. And so even if you're a non-technical person, it doesn't matter, right? It's very simple. It's very easy as long as you understand what you're doing. And that's what this whole show is about. I'm excited for today's show. I don't know, live stream audience. Are you guys excited? Good morning to Jay and Big Bogey Face there. Kathleen saying hello from New York. Hello, Kathleen. Robert joining here from Raleigh, North Carolina. Come on and raise up. Cecilia in my hometown, Chicago, saying happy hump day. It's good to see y'all. Monica joining from Chicago as well. Kyle's super excited. I'm curious, live stream audience, drop your favorite custom GPT that you've ever made. in the comments. I'm sure we can all help each other. But also, if you have any specific questions that you want me to tackle when it comes to GPTs and using these new O3 models, make sure to get it in the comments now. I'll look. It always helps if you put like question there, because there's usually a lot of different comments coming in from different platforms, and I'm doing this all unedited, unscripted. So if you do have a question, just type in question, get your question in, and I'm going to try to answer them either as I go or at the end. So again, jam-packed episode today, but let's first go over what is actually new. So this is from OpenAI's website, and we're going to be doing some live demos and everything like that. So podcast audience, I'm going to always do my best to describe what's going on screen, but we're going to be doing a lot of live demos, looking at some custom configurations and all of those things. So this might be one of those ones. Check your show notes. We always like I said, in our free daily newsletter, we link back to the website. So you can go and check that out, or it's, on our, YouTube channel, everything like that. All right, so here's what's new with GPTs, and this is from OpenAI's website. So they said creators can now choose the full set of ChatGPT models, GPT-4o, O3, O4 Mini, and more when building custom GPTs, making it easier to fine-tune performance for different tasks, industries, and workflows. Creators can also set a recommended model to guide users. So some key details, they say GPTs without custom actions can use the model picker to select from all models. If you do use custom actions, so we're going to be showing an example of that. You can only use GPT-4o or 4.1. And GPTs, to build them, you have to be on a paid plan. To use them, you can be on a free plan. All right. So I know a lot of people, if they don't want to spend the $20 a month, but y'all, let's be honest, whether we're talking about ChatGPT or Google Gemini, even Claude, as much as I, kind of drag Claude through the mud for, if you look at it in the wrong way, you hit your rate limits, Microsoft Copilot, whatever, the $20, $25, $30 a month, whatever, it is a literal bargain. All right. So, I get it. You might not be able to scrounge up $20, every single month, but you can literally do it for a few months, build a bunch of GPTs. And then if you don't want to keep paying, you can still use those GPTs. You just can't modify them anymore if you're on a free plan. All right. So, and like I said, this is part 2. We're going over some more advanced techniques today. But if you do want to go back and listen, last Wednesday, we did part 1 of this, our new, AI at Work Wednesdays, I think is what we're calling it, which, are you guys liking these Wednesday shows? So anyways, last Wednesday, go listen to it if you haven't already. Part 1 is episode 559. So we went over how to automate like meeting action items, how to turn spreadsheets into story-driven slides, how to generate custom learning plans, how to get instant market research dashboards, and how to create real-time company financial reports. I mean, my gosh, I literally built these GPTs for you all, and we demoed them all live. And I did, I told people, hey, if you repost the episode, I'll share the GPTs with you. So if you did share it, I did, or if you did repost it on LinkedIn, I just sent you guys all the list of the GPTs. So if you share, repost this episode as well, I'll send you a list. I think they were actually pretty good. Not perfect, but great ways to automate your day-to-day work and save some time.
Are you still running in circles trying to figure out how to actually grow your business with AI? Maybe your company has been tinkering with large language models for a year or more, but can't really get traction to find ROI on Gen AI. Hey, this is Jordan Wilson, host of this very podcast. Companies like Adobe, Microsoft, and NVIDIA have partnered with us because they trust our expertise in educating the masses around generative AI to get ahead. And some of the most innovative companies in the country hire us to help with their AI strategy and to train hundreds of their employees on how to use Gen AI. So whether you're looking for ChatGPT training for thousands or just need help building your front-end AI strategy, you can partner with us too, just like some of the biggest companies in the world do. Go to youreverydayai.com/partner to get in contact with our team, or you can just click on the partner section of our website. We'll help you stop running in those AI circles and help get your team ahead and build a straight path to ROI on Gen AI.
All right, here's the fun part, y'all. We're going live. Hopefully no demo demons, but for sure there's going to be some demo demons. All right, what can go wrong when trying to, share like 13 different tabs in a browser using generative AI and just really breaking the thing. All right, so live stream audience, do me a favor. Do me a favor. If you could be my helping hand here. Let me know that you can see my screen because I don't want to keep going. And if something bounces off screen, please let me know because otherwise I'm going to keep talking. And at least for our live stream audience or for those listening or watching later on YouTube, you're going to be a little confused or on our website. All right. So let's first talk about context stacking. So if you Google it, you're probably not going to find anything except for your everyday AI. Context stacking is a term that we've kind of, I guess, coined and have taught people as well over the years. So what this is, ChatGPT actually has a huge advantage, and I'm actually very surprised that the other AI labs haven't caught on, right? Although this may change in the future as OpenAI any week, month now, kind of goes to this GPT-5 architecture where the system will kind of choose on its own what model to use. Right now, you can go between different models. But what happens usually when you're using other platforms, Google Gemini, Claude, etc., you can't always flip between different models and keep the context of your chat going. So if you are brand new to AI and you're like, okay, like what the heck does this mean? When I'm talking with ChatGPT, all right, I'm on a pro plan. So the context window is 128,000 tokens, which is about 96,000 words. If you're on a paid ChatGPT plan, so ChatGPT Plus, you're working with a 32,000 token context window, which is about 28,000 words. What that means is when I share a bunch of information, if I copy and paste, 10 pages and ChatGPT goes through and it responds a bunch of words, that eats into that context window. And it's only going to remember, if you're on the ChatGPT Plus plan, like so many people are, it's only going to remember the most recent 28,000 words. So if you end up having between you and ChatGPT a 56,000 word conversation, it's going to forget the first 28,000. So it only has a running memory of the last 28,000 words of context. That's very important, but you can take that to your advantage. Because like I said, you can start in these different modes or models in ChatGPT and then switch and keep the context. That is huge, especially when you talk about bringing in GPTs to the mix. I mean, you can't even switch models in Claude, right? So if you're using Claude for Sonnet and you're like, oh man, I'd really love to use Claude for Opus right now, and you go to switch and it's like start new chat. So what that means is then it has no idea, no context, and you essentially have to start over, right? And what if that's a chat that you've been using every day? You've gone through our, prime prompt polish process, and you have a lot of good information, and you're getting great outputs from ChatGPT or from whatever large language model. If it doesn't have context stacking or model switching built in, you're screwed. You got to start over, right? So that's why this model or context stacking is huge. So what that means is you can use different modes, different GPTs in the same context window, and it takes in all of that information. So let me give you a quick example. All right. So do we see the screen? Yeah. Okay. I think so. I saw one person say yes. So thanks, Mohammed. You said yes. So hopefully that means you can see my screen. So what I already did, and I didn't want to make you guys wait 12 minutes as I did this. I know I always do these live. I'm going to do the second part live. So I already ran a deep research query in ChatGPT. Okay. If you don't know what deep research is, come on, y'all. Like it's like whether you're using, I think ChatGPT and Google Gemini have the best deep research, and it's a pretty big drop off between those and everyone else, right? Grok has deep research, Perplexity has deep research, everyone has deep research, but OpenAI's and Google Gemini's are in a league of their own. But essentially, it will go through and agentically research something for you in a very impressive manner. So I already had it find. So my deep research query, I said, find the 20 biggest trending topics from May 2025 to July 2025 in generative AI, large language models, etc. Make sure they're pinpoint specific. Do not generalize. In OpenAI's deep research, it asks you a couple of questions. I answer those questions, blah, blah, blah. There we go. And then we have this nice this nice research report. It made 138 different searches. Sheesh. So I'm showing the activity. It did essentially 138 different Googles in order to, I say Google just as a general way to say search the web. And then it looked at 64 different sources, and then it created a document for me here. So it's great, right? So I'm looking at some of these things. This should give me three, some of the biggest AI news trends, trending topics over the last, 2 or 3 months. So I want you to, as I'm going through my examples, I want you to think of your use case. That's going to make this so much better when we talk about context stacking with GPTs. What are the things that you're constantly doing? And a lot of times I would even start, before I even do a deep research query, I would usually start by sharing context and kind of warming the chat up a bit, going through the PPP process. But for demonstration purposes, I'm just like getting it clean, cut, and dirty and fast. All right. So then what I can do here is context stack with a GPT that I built. All right. So now I have a GPT that I built that's called Everyday AI Episode Researcher. So I'm saying based on the recent trends, I'm going to say above in your response, please look at my episode data. And I'm going to say in this GPT, in the Everyday AI Episode Researcher GPT. I love typing live. Nothing I love more. And plan out at least 5 episodes for July 2025. Use the entire context of this conversation. So you can that's the big thing about GPTs. You can use them almost anywhere where there's a text box. Well, so you can't actually use them inside projects, which is a big bummer, but essentially anywhere else, you can just click that at button, and then any GPT that you've made and you've saved, you can then use that GPT. So, okay, why would you do that? Well, this GPT obviously has custom instructions, and it has data in there. So I've shared all of my podcast data. I've given it custom instructions on, hey, when I use this, whether I'm using it in a dedicated mode or I'm using it in the context of a different chat, here's exactly what you should do. And I've kind of fine-tuned it to do exactly what I want. And it's going to agentically use the O3 model. So by default, I have it using the O3 model. So then I say, now when I click this, you can see it's right away, it's running a Python script. So it's doing data analysis on my file that I upload, and it's going to slowly go through here. It's going to start pulling out different ideas, right? So I actually don't know how long it's going to take. That's the thing about doing it live here. So, okay, it already gave me my top 5 everyday AI episode ideas, right? How to actually use ChatGPT, AI agents, everything you need to know. Will AI take your job, etc. So now it's going through there and it's planning out new episodes for me. All right. So I'm not going to spend like 10 more minutes, but this is context stacking in its simplest form. I use deep research, right? And now I mentioned or used one of my other GPTs. And now because these GPTs can use the O3 model, they're capable of so much more, right? The difference between the GPT-4 kind of, GPT-4o quote unquote transformer model and the O series model that you can use, I mean, they're agentic and they're absolutely amazing. Okay. Now let's move on. And this one also took a while, so I just want to show you, some examples of using GPTs with the O3 model and really what that opens up in terms of capabilities. So I have another GPT that I've built. And what I've called this one is the Evergreen Episode Hunter. All right, so I'm actually going to go ahead. All right, I'm going to go ahead and open this in a new tab and just kind of show you what this looks like. Okay. So this Evergreen Episode Hunter, it's actually a little complex, right? So now I've loaded up my custom configuration instructions where I'm telling it exactly what to do, right? So I'm telling it to open up this file with all my podcast stats. And I'm trying to find outliers. Okay. So what that means is sometimes I'll have episodes, right? Most of our daily episodes, they get traction for about a week. And then for the most part, after a week, they just kind of fizzle there and they get, maybe a dozen a dozen listens or something every day, right? But for the first 7 days, they're going to get usually 10,000 downloads. So I'm trying to find episodes that have evergreen power. For whatever reason, there's a supply and demand paradigm out there in the podcast world and just in the information world where sometimes there's a lot of people searching for something, but there's not a lot of good, high quality sources. So I don't really know that unless I'm spending hours every single day looking. That's why I built this Evergreen episode hunter. So what it does is it goes through and it created a little short little algorithm or formula to find my average 7-day, 30-day, 90-day kind of decay. And then it finds outliers in that. And it says, these are great episodes that are going to stick around for longer than you may think. So this GPT not only does that, but then also when it finds these evergreen episodes. So maybe I had one from, 2 years ago and I haven't updated it. So not only will it go and find those episodes, but depending on what I ask of this custom GPT, it will then go agentically do research for me. Okay, so I already ran this one. I didn't want to have to, make you all wait. So in this instance, I said, give me a list of my 5 most evergreen episodes and then an outline on how I could or should update them for new episodes based on recent happenings. And you'll see, I don't even have to say like, oh, look up information from 2025. These are the topics I care about, etc. It's going to go through, it's going to find and extract that information from the spreadsheet. And then I've already given it very specific instructions on how it should be researching. So it doesn't pull in information from 2023 or 2024. It's only pulling up the most accurate and up-to-date information. And I've even given it kind of some very specific instructions on how it should agentically browse the web. So then I can go back and look at the chain of thought and I can kind of show you guys what happened here, right? I didn't want to keep you guys waiting for too long because sometimes these GPTs, especially when you're using the O series model, they can take just a GPT could take 3 to 5 minutes, right? A deep research query might take anywhere from 2 to 20. I love doing these things live as much as possible. We're still going to do one live here when we talk about custom actions inside of GPTs. But what happened with this Evergreen episode hunter, right? So I said, give me a list of the 5 most evergreen episodes and outline them on how I could or should update them. So first, as I look at the chain of thought, it did for 3 minutes and 40 seconds. It's going through, it's writing some code, right? So it's using some Python code. It goes through there. It's familiarizing itself with the spreadsheet that I have in there. All right. Lot of code here, right? This is great that I don't have to do this anymore with my brain, even though I love spreadsheets and I love making little algorithms. You know what's funny? I was joking about this with my wife the other day. It's like Prime Day. Like I used to literally create spreadsheets with little weighted algorithms on the best deals, right? So I love doing this stuff, but it's also, I understand, it's very time consuming. That's one of those things when we talk about augmented intelligence and we don't always just want to kick off, or kick certain tasks to AI. We really want to make sure that we're still becoming better at that task. So that's why I always look at this chain of thought, because I'm looking what it's looking at in my spreadsheet and how it's taking that data to go and agentically search the web based on what it's based on what it finds. So, always look at that summarized chain of thought, see what it's seeing, because then I'm always going to see what works well when I'm using this custom GPT and what doesn't. And then the next time I use that, I'm going to keep that in mind. And I'm probably going to go back and update the GPT as well. So these are not just use them once and forget it. It's use it. Number one, look at the chain of thought to improve yourself, then also look at the chain of thought to either improve your next prompt or query, but also to improve the custom instructions. All right, so as I keep going, it's identified some of the 5 episodes with the most evergreen value. I'm going to keep scrolling. So pretty soon here, there we go. So eventually it starts searching the web. So it makes one search of the web. It comes back, it thinks, search the web, thinks, search the web, thinks, right? Keeps going on and on. After searching the web, thinking 5 different times, then it comes back and it analyzes more data based on what it found on the web. That's when we talk about how powerful these GPTs are now, it's because of this, right? The old GPTs, they were meh, right? Because they were only running GPT 4.0, which is not a model that can think, plan ahead, reason, and agentically use tools as it decides to, right? So what that means is it found after first, number one, looking at my data and finding these evergreen topics, number two, researching. After doing that, it decided, wait, I need more data, right? I need to go run a couple more calculations to make sure that I'm doing the right thing. So it decided on its own, this O3 model, that it kind of had to go back and revisit step one, just like a human would, right? The GPT 4.0 model could not do that, right? And that's why I think the GPTs originally, not saying they flopped, but they just weren't super useful, right? Because the transformer models, to get the most out of them, you really had to like be a stud at prompt engineering, right? With the O series models, not so much, because they are so much more capable and they think and reason and go through logic like a human does. So then it went through after number one, data research, number two, browsing the web, number three, goes back, does more data, goes and browses the web again, goes back, more data. I mean, this is very impressive that this all happened with a GPT. Anyways, when I go back, I also tell it, okay, here's another tip and trick. When we talk about context window, all right, it only is going to remember things that are in the context window. So later, if I go back into this chat, I'm not going to be able to pull on that summarized chain of thought. So in the custom instructions, I tell it to put into its reply its thought process and key findings. So then that way I can take advantage of that. That's a huge nugget. Sorry that came at the 25-minute mark, but that's good. A good thing to know that to put into your custom instructions when using the O series models and to take advantage of context stacking. All right. And then I'll go through here. Anyways, eventually, it came up with the insights and recommendations. It gave me okay. These are some pretty good ones. Regulation reality check explain how the EU AI Act obligations arriving in August 2025. That's around the corner, and what small and medium businesses must do to prepare now. It's a great episode idea, right? So it went through. It found that some of my episodes that are talking about regulations and laws and legalities, right, that they perform well even outside of that normal 7-day decay window. So then it went out, looked at all my data, did a bunch of research and said, hey, this is coming up. This is coming up. This is getting ahead. This episode is going to perform well. So not only that is it did some research in here as well when it went to future episode ideas. And then it gave me all the sources and the headlines that I use as well. So you can have a little bit of confidence in it. Oof. That was a lot. Michelle just says, great tip. Keep it coming. All right. We'll keep it going. Colby, what's up, Colby? Colby says, how do PDFs full of text play in token usage? Great question, Colby. The problem is, I don't think anyone aside from OpenAI knows, right? I've done manual testing in this. The reason being is it uses different techniques to essentially tokenize or to analyze that PDF. And sometimes it'll go back multiple times. So I had a pretty good idea with the transformer models. The O series models, when you're uploading PDFs in there, it is different each time. So I do not have a definitive answer. I don't know if anyone would, aside from people at OpenAI, but I would assume that even they would say that it varies. Right? Because generative AI is generative, it's going to do something a little bit different each time. I assume it also depends on the specificity of your custom instructions, right? If you are having it read and analyze every single page, right? Or if it's just skimming through, parsing it and pulling out information in the middle, and it's not actually ingesting all of that information. So I'd hate to use an SEO answer, but I think it depends. All right. So we've covered so far context stacking, number one. We've covered some tips with using O3 models when building custom GPTs. And then last but not least, we're going to talk about custom actions. All right. So yes or no? Live stream audience, have you built any GPTs with custom actions before? I want to know if people understand this or, how in depth I need to get. So when you create a GPT, most people know this. If you've never created one, it's actually simple because you can literally talk to ChatGPT to build it. You don't even have to go in on the back end and tweak the settings. You can just say, hey, my website is youreverydayai.com. I run a, top 20 tech podcast. Go find out all this information and build me a GPT to do episode research, right? I could build it that way, or you can build it by hand on the back end and configure. So if you build it on the front end conversationally with ChatGPT, it essentially synthesizes that information and it fills in the configuration instructions. So if you're building a GPT, there's technically two panels and the left panel is split. There's a create tab where you can talk to ChatGPT to create a GPT, and then there's a configure tab. And then once you make once you make changes, it will render on the right-hand side, which is the preview pane. Okay. So when you're configuring something, that's where you can, type in those custom instructions, conversation starters, upload knowledge. The good thing is, so you can use on your GPTs, you can decide what model to use. There's a model selector. But you can also set preferred methods. So maybe if you do want to build these for your team, that's something I should have started with at the beginning, right? For enterprise teams, people on ChatGPT teams, etc. This is great that you can set a recommended model. Sometimes you might not need O3 Pro, right? If it's more of a simple, hey, rewriting content, right? Because if you're using like O3 Pro, depending on what your query is, you might be waiting 10 minutes for a response when you might only need to wait 10 seconds. So having a recommended model that the creator can set is great, but also the users, whether you are using the GPTs that you create, whether you're sharing them with a small team, whether you're sharing them with, we just trained a international organization that's going to have, I think, 500 enterprise license, 500 enterprise seats. We've trained companies with thousands of enterprise seats, right? So you can then share these GPTs across your organization. So that's good as well. But let's look at the actions. Okay. We're getting a little bit technical, but hey, you all said you wanted the advanced episode. So when I click create actions, so remember, when you do this, unfortunately, at least right now, and this could change, if you're using custom actions, bringing in information from an API, then you are only able to use the GPT 4.0 or the GPT 4.1 model. So there's some trade-off. So essentially, if you're going out and fetching dynamic data via an API, then you can't use the thinking models. Hopefully that changes in the future, but maybe there's a technical reason that you can't do that. All right, so I'm going to click create new action. So this might seem confusing, all right, because what you're looking at here is something with schema, actions, right? There's JSON, YAML, right? And you're like, what the heck is this? All right, it's not as hard as you would think. All right, and the reason being is ChatGPT has an actions GPT. So a lot of people don't know this, when you go into actions, right, there's a get help from an actions GPT. So I could just say, as an example, right? I want to create a GPT that pulls in information from that writes to my Google Calendar. How do I do this? All right. So this actions GPT is created by OpenAI. So then it's going to give me a step-by-step overview. And in most cases, it will eventually give you the code that you need, essentially this schema to put in to this schema bar. So, if you're looking at the word schema and you're like, wait, what the heck is this? Don't worry. It's not as difficult as you may think. You can literally just use the actions GPT. It'll give you a step-by-step guide. If you're using, I don't know, a very popular API. I don't know. I'm trying to think like, I don't know if you're in digital marketing, maybe you're using, SEMrush or Ahrefs, right? Like these like SEO content platforms, you can literally just grab their API documentation, paste it in and say, I'm trying to create a GPT that will pull my website's keyword rankings instantly, right? And then here's all the API information, and then the actions GPT will essentially write that schema for you. And then all you have to do is copy and paste it. All right, but I'm going to give you an even easier way. So yes, if you are an organization, you probably have someone technical on your team who knows how to work with API endpoints, right? But all that means is your GPTs can essentially via these actions and so if I go to authentication, right? Not any API, but essentially any API, depending on how it works. There's some intricacies that I don't necessarily want to get into because it would take hours. But essentially, any API out there, if it has the correct endpoints, if the way it handles the API key is correct and you can keep it secure because you never want to hard code an API key inside the custom instructions for a GPT. Because again, if you make this public, someone could, in theory, extract your API information. And, if you're paying for something, they could run up the bill, right? So you never want to hard code the API in here. So there's different ways that you can authenticate the API in here. So, and also with OAuth as well. So like your login information. Anyways, so you can do that on the more technical side if you understand API endpoints. Even if you don't, you can use ChatGPT's Actions GPT. But I'll tell you an even easier one and do a demo of it here real quick. Zapier, y'all. All right, so I will have this kind of blog post or page in our newsletter today and give you an example of how this works. So Zapier is great. If you don't know Zapier, it essentially connects to everything on the web. So maybe you don't know or understand APIs, or maybe you don't have access to it at the organizational level, but you have access to it at your level. That's really all you need. So it's a little bit easier if you have a paid Zapier account, but even if you have a free Zapier account, you can do the basics and it's actually really impressive. So all you literally have to do and is this page gives you a step-by-step. So it says, copy this link to your clipboard. Okay, I'm going to copy it. I'm going to go back into, let me do a new one here. There we go. So there's an option to import schema from URL. So with Zapier, it's the same URL. I click that, I click import, and bam, it loads up the schema, right? There's some placeholders in here that you obviously have to update. Right. So the next part of that Zapier kind of blog post is it gives you these instruction templates. And then these are the rules then that you would copy and paste into your custom configuration instructions. So as an example, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to copy this, right? And then I would put this, I would click the back button here. Okay. So I essentially imported this schema from the URL, which is a great feature from this GPT builder. I'm going to go back and then I paste that other thing in custom instructions. And then from here, literally the only thing I have to do is I have to update what I actually want it to grab. And I would put that in the custom instructions. And then the other thing is I just have to go to Zapier's actions and then just enable them, right? So as an example, it's just actions.zapier.com/GPT/actions. Again, I'll have it in the newsletter. And then you just build them visually. So you don't even have to be technical. So I did this, different things. I can send an email, right? Which is great because in GPTs right now with the new connectors, if you're using deep research, you can read emails, you can read your calendar, right? But you can't write. And there's sometimes I'm like, man, I wish like while I was in here, I could just add something quickly to my calendar, or I could, use deep research and go through my Gmails, but then actually reply to them. Well, you can do that going through this process with Zapier. So then you just have to add the new action. And then essentially this reply to email, that would be when I go back to the custom instructions, there's 2 or 3 places that you would need to put that action in the custom instructions. And then that's it. So literally you import via the URL, it loads the schema up by itself. You go to the Zapier page, you get their template, you update it based on the action that you build, and bam, that's it. All right, so let me show you an actual use case example. Sorry, live stream audience, I know I'm jumping all over. And if you do have a question, we're wrapping up here. So get it in now. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer them if there are any at the end. So now I went through this exact same process. I just didn't want to have to show you guys like my email, my credentials, trying to be somewhat safe, even though I just give you guys all my data anyways. So I literally just went through the process that I just walked you through via Zapier, importing the schema via the URL, using the custom instructions from Zapier's website, going in, configuring the action, which is literally no code. You just click a button, and then updating the action name in the custom instructions that ChatGPT gives you. It takes like literally 2 minutes. All right, so now I'm just going to say something simple. I'm in the GPT. It's called Add to Calendar. I don't need to use the 4.0 or the O3 model because it actually won't work. So I have the 4.0 model. And all I'm saying is add a 30-minute meeting with Jake this Saturday at 5 p.m. I'm going to say to my calendar. And I'm going to say no location or description, because if I don't say that, it's going to come back and ask me. And I just want to show you guys literally one prompt. It's going to add it to my calendar. And just so you all see here, I'm zoomed in to my calendar for this Saturday. It's blank. Nothing's on there. All right. So hopefully this will work. But demo demons, right? It may ask me to reauthorize once. Oh, great. I literally just did this before I started. Give me a second, y'all. I just got to re-sign in, even though I literally already did this. Okay. All right, we're back. So all I did, I said, add a 30-minute meeting with Jake this Saturday at 5 p.m. to my calendar, no location or description. And you'll see here, I don't know why it makes you reconfirm. I think in the new context window, you have to do it once. And I started this fresh. So you'll see it just says talked to actions.zapier.com. And here in a second, it should be done. There you go. It says your 30-minute meeting with Jake has been successfully added to your calendar for this Saturday at 5 p.m. And then it says view on Google Calendar. I'll just show you over here. It's there. There's my 30-minute meeting. So again, you might be saying like, all right, Jordan, like, what's the point? Again, one of the downsides with ChatGPT in general is it doesn't look or work with your live dynamic data, which is okay. That's fine, right? They're improving that with connectors. They have some dynamic connectors as well. But now you can't, right? Zapier, it's the simplest way to do it. It connects to, I think, more than 7,000 different services. So even if you're a non-technical person, you don't have to understand API endpoints and be writing schema from scratch. I showed you how with just a little copy and pasting, using Zapier, I think, is a great way to do it. And then even if you get caught up, I mean, OpenAI has that Actions GPT. Just paste in the information from whatever API you're trying to use, or you can even say, hey, I'm using this on Zapier. Here's the documentation. Here's what I'm trying to do. It's giving me this error, and you can probably fix it in like, a minute. But it's so simple. So I hope this was helpful, y'all. I'm going to get, as we wrap here, let's go to a couple questions. I said I would. Jay, what's up, Jay? Jay says, assume could add it to one of your specific Google calendars in your account. Yes. So that's one of the steps when you're setting up the actions inside of Zapier. So first, you have to authenticate your account if you've never done it inside Zapier. Most people, if you have a Zapier account, you have. But then you can actually, if you have 5 different calendars inside your Google Calendar or your Outlook, yes, you can choose which calendar it goes to. Great question there. Let's see. Anything else? Wooter. Sorry if I got your name correct. Great question. When do you know when the context window is full? Well, you don't. I wish front-end AI chatbots would include this. The only one that I know it's not front-end is if you're using Google's AI Studio, which is more for developers. It tells you how many tokens you've used. There's plenty of Chrome extensions or whatever browser that you're using that will tell you how many tokens you've hit. But if you're not using those, which you always should be, and if you listen to the show, we've talked about that a lot and we've shared in the newsletter a lot. You'll otherwise know when it starts to forget stuff, right? So that's why you should always just use a Chrome extension with a token counter. It's way simpler. Let's see. Did we get it? Okay. Let me just confirm this one here, and then I think we can wrap. So Kathleen says, so when you switch the model in the same chat, the context window resets. So no, it stays the same. Okay. But it retains the information in that context window. So when I switch models, it's not like, oh, I'm back at 0, right? If I had 26,000 of my 28,000, kind of quote unquote, context window consumed. It's not like when I switch the model, it goes to zero. No. And you wouldn't want it to, because you want it to retain that information. So it keeps the same context window. It just allows you to swap models in there. So great clarifying question. All right, y'all, was this helpful? Let me know. Like I said, if you want access to all those other GPTs that I created last week, and they're actually pretty good, just repost this episode. I'll make sure to share those with you. Also, let me know whether it's in the comments here or in the newsletter. Number one, are you liking this AI at Work Wednesdays? And what should we tackle next? There's so many different things. One of the reasons why I started this segment is people always ask me, Jordan, like, oh, how are you using AI? And I'm like, okay, well, every day, right? So on Wednesdays, I try to either, whether it's something new, it's something that people are confused about, it's something, oh, so many people are asking about blank, right? So I try to bring you into my world on how I'm using all of these different AI tools. But if you have specific requests, ask, y'all, I work for you. So in the podcast show notes, I always leave my contact information. It might take me, a day or 3 or a week. If I miss your message, sorry, I stink at that, but I eventually get back to everyone. It just might take a while. But give me your suggestions. I want to hear, and I want to make this new weekly Wednesday AI at Work segment very valuable for you. So I hope this was. As a reminder, make sure to tune in tomorrow. It's going to be a banger episode, having one of the original OGs of AI, the actual Dr. Ben Goertzel himself, who coined the term AGI. I hope this is helpful. Please go to youreverydayai.com, sign up for the free daily newsletter, and I'll see you back tomorrow and every day for more Everyday AI. Thanks, y'all.
And that's a wrap for today's edition of Everyday AI. Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave us a rating. It helps keep us going. For a little more AI magic, visit youreverydayai.com and sign up to our daily newsletter so you don't get left behind. Go break some barriers, and we'll see you next time.